things that we see on a daily basis. And I know, talking with some who served in the Foreign Service, they've indicated that that type of information is very helpful, not only so that they can properly portray what's happening back home, but it is good for them to get a sense of what's happening back home just for their own personal experience and their family's experience. I'm really sorry the time's up, because we could go into a whole host of things that I know you're doing and that the USIA has been doing over the past number of years. I just want to congratulate you on what you're doing and urge you to continue doing it. And I hope that those of you who've had a chance to watch this might have gotten a little bit more information about what it is the USIA does and why they have to do what they do, why they have to respond to the Soviet Union, their disinformation campaigns, and their other active measures. I thank you for joining us today, and I hope that you'll join us next time at the same time.
This has been the Dan Lundgren Report. If you have any questions or comments regarding today's broadcast, please write to Congressman Dan Lundgren, U.S. House of Representatives, Washington, D.C. 20515.
City's Recreation and Parks Department. In addition, during our middle segment, I'll be giving you details on some of the interesting activities going on in our area. And now let me introduce my first guest for this evening's edition, Dr. Thomas Wood, President of Marymount College in Palos Verdes. It's nice to have you with us this evening.
Thank you for inviting me.
Tell us a little bit about the campus of Marymount.
The physical campus is located at Crest Road and Palos Verdes Drive East, which is a lovely location, overlooks the Channel and Catalina, and I think we're really fortunate to be located where we are.
How do students concentrate on their studies with all that beautiful view?
Well, I think unfortunately we do, or they do, what most of us do. They get used to that grand environment, and sometimes we take it for granted.
What is the educational focus of Marymount?
Marymount is perhaps the only two-year independent liberal arts college in the West now, and our focus is simply to encourage the students to an associate in arts degree and transfer to a four-year institute, and about 95% of our youngsters successfully do that.
It's rather a small student body, as I recall, and I think there is a focus on small classes and a small ratio of student to faculty. Is that correct?
We're approximately 16 to 1, and yes, I think perhaps the major thing to recommend us is a highly personalized delivery system of the curriculum, which demands that we be small, and it also demands that we have a very caring and compassionate and competent faculty.
We have some videotape that was taken up on your beautiful campus, and perhaps you can describe for us as we're watching that what we're seeing.
Marvelous. That's a statue of the Blessed Mother, which is in the center of a circled drive at the very entrance of the campus. In the background, you can see the chapel. To the left are faculty offices, a student snack bar, and to the right, the convent. Students congregated here. Ooh, it looks like they're exchanging some money. I hope that's altogether legitimate. The campus has a good many lawns and green places, and the youngsters enjoy relaxation there. This is the interior of the chapel. The stained glass window faces to the ocean side of the campus. It's small, but a very, very handsome, a very beautiful chapel. Balloons are a favorite accoutrement in Southern California for celebrating, and we were preparing here for an academic convocation. That's our practice pool, and these umbrellas are located in tables on the balcony just outside the snack bar, which is another favorite gathering place for students because it has that beautiful ocean view. I can only presume that they're studying.
A good atmosphere to study in.
Oh, it's just beautiful. This is a shot of the playground of our early childhood education program. We have a nursery school which serves the community, but primarily it exists to provide a place for internship for those students who are interested in early childhood education as a career. Gives them a good taste of what might be expected of them early on, so that if they choose to make any shifts in career, they can. We're looking at the laboratory which provides computer-assisted instruction. And this is a very popular place, not only for students who may be doing remedial work for our English as a second language students, and now we have people in English and mathematics using it rather intensively as an aid for their students. It's a tremendous opportunity to become computer literate, and of course that's
very important nowadays, isn't it?
Almost a demand on the part of the four-year institute. Sister Francoise O'Hare, for whom the auditorium was dedicated, was the founding principal of this site, which was early on, 1950, a high school operated by the same religious order that serves us. Once again, students gathered at a conversation point on the campus. Here we have the beginnings of the academic convocation, which opens the college year. All academics and administration in full academic regalia. The audience composed primarily of students and some neighbors who we invite as guests. This year's convocation, I think, was particularly successful, and following the formal ceremonies, food was served to all of the students and guests, and that was a very, very popular aspect of the convocation.
And that sort of sets the year in motion, then.
It does indeed. This is the time and the place where we set the tone, hopefully, for the year for all of us together.
In addition, because you are a two-year college, do you also have any focus on those students who might already know what their major is going to be when they get to the university?
We have an element in the curriculum which is called pre-professional. But in point of fact, and I think colleges are not often honest enough about this, the first 2 years at any college have to be devoted to general education within the liberal arts context, and it is that way with us. So yes, we have those kinds of courses that would be entrees to upper division study for the professions, but they're no different than anyone else's.
What is the Learning Center? I understand you have a segment called the Learning Center at Marymount.
I suspect that most colleges and high schools, indeed elementary schools, have something that they call a learning center, simply a resource center. The emphasis may be on hardware, or as in our case, maybe on software. It's a place where students can go referred by faculty to the specialists there for some specialized kind of assistance, help, or opportunities for advancement.
Well, that's certainly helpful to students who are just out of high school and entering the college experience.
Mm-hmm.
Marymount has a unique housing program, and I think some of the students live in the San Pedro area, as a matter of fact. What do you provide in the way of housing for your students?
We lease about 7 apartments in the San Pedro area.
Apartments or apartment buildings?
These are apartment buildings,
Mm-hmm.
and all of our students who we can house, about 275, I think, this year, are in those properties. They're managed by Sister June Patricia McManus, who's our Director of Housing, and her resident assistants, so there's professional supervision in all of these sites, and we like it. It provides the students an additional opportunity for independent growth, paying their own bills, fixing their own meals in the evening, and it's been a delightful situation for us. We really enjoy San Pedro.
That's an important part of the whole learning experience, is learning to take care of yourself, I guess.
Indeed it is.
How do these students get to campus?
A surprising number of them have cars, and then we have 2 vans that shuttle on schedule back and forth up and down the hill to provide transportation for those that don't have automobiles.
What is the winter term that you have at Marymount? What is that?
The winter term is simply the month of January, which is devoted to one class selected by the students, and it's highly intensive, interdisciplinary in its orientation, and the purpose and the thrust of the whole thing is to cause students and faculty to embrace the idea of cross-disciplinary work, interdisciplinary work, and hopefully some of the kinds of things faculty does, some of the kinds of things students enjoy can be carried over into the 2 regular semesters, fall and spring.
Quickly, I want to ask you about the large number of foreign students you have at Marymount. Do you have special programs to assist them to integrate into the American system?
We have about 17% who are international, Europe, Far East, some few Latin America and Middle East. And yes, I suppose our primary assistance is in the English as a Second Language program, which has been remarkably successful.
Dr. Wood, thanks so much for being with us this evening and letting us know a little bit more about Marymount College. I'm sure it'll be of interest to our viewers.
Thank you. It was a real pleasure.
Each week, the Los Angeles City Council meets 3 times to consider issues which may be of interest to you. Graffiti is a major problem, and the city is now taking steps to deal with graffiti on both private and public property. Legislation has been introduced in the City Council asking for a specific ordinance to deal with graffiti on private property. My goal is to encourage property owners to remove graffiti from their own property. The mayor has a graffiti removal program which costs a minimum of $200 per project, and that's based on a $1 per square foot charge. For this program, call 213 Cleanup. On public property, the city has initiated a pilot program of crews removing graffiti from public properties. Graffiti is a big challenge, but we are taking many steps to try to deal with this blight in our communities. Your help in fighting graffiti is appreciated. November 4th is an important day for all of us. It's Election Day. I encourage you to use your right to vote. On November 4th, of particular interest on the ballot are the state ballot issue Proposition 61, which is the Gann Initiative to limit salaries, and the city ballot issue Initiative Ordinance U, limiting growth in the city. These two ballot issues, if passed, will have extensive impacts on each of us, and I encourage each of you to study these issues and to vote on November 4th. I have 3 area offices to serve the harbor area of the 15th District. Should you need assistance in dealing with the city, please contact my office nearest you. My San Pedro office can be reached by calling 548-7637. My Wilmington office can be called at 548-7586, and my Harbor City Harbor Gateway office can be reached at 548-7664. Together, we're making our community an even better place to work and to live. My second guest this evening is Jim Hadaway, General Manager of the city's Recreation and Parks Department. Jim, what is the scope of responsibility of your department?
We're responsible for all the golf courses in the city. There are 13, 300 park locations, the museums, we have 5 or 6 museums, the zoo, observatory, all the swimming pools, baseball fields. I think that's everything.
What's the biggest challenge that your department faces?
Well, maybe we're facing one challenge on a negative point of view. I think we have a problem of crime, vandalism, graffiti, if you will. And I think we need to address that because according to our surveys, about half the people in the community are afraid to come to the parks because they're afraid that something is going to happen.
We're looking at a videotape now. This happens to be Banning Park, which is a very popular park in Wilmington.
Yes. There's a museum there, as you know, the Banning residence. We have some bond issue money coming from the state. We'll be enlarging the museum and the carriage house, and that'll be an exciting project.
As a matter of fact, we have 3 museums in our area, which is very rich in history and heritage.
Yes, we're really proud of our Marine Museum. It's in the news all the time. We think exciting things will be happening at the Maritime Museum. We have a new director. This is Harbor Regional Golf, which is probably, in the state of California, probably the heaviest played 9-hole golf course in California and maybe in the United States.
Is it tough to get a starting time on Harbor Course?
Very tough, very tough. Super course. The maintenance crew there does a real good job. And I only wish that Harbor Regional Park was big enough so we could expand that to an 18-hole course. But it is not, and there are no plans to do that. As far as the other challenge, well, this is Harbor Regional Lake. The department has 7 lakes under its jurisdiction. We've been fortunate in the last few years in receiving some state funds and federal funds to clean all of our lakes. We know that was an inconvenience to the residents, but last year Harbor Lake was drained and cleaned. Of the 7 lakes, there's only one, and that's Hollenbeck. The other 6 have been cleaned and drained and all for fishing for, I thought for children. That looks like an adult fishing there to me.
Good thing to do when you've had a busy day.
Inside gymnasiums and recreation centers, we have 151 community centers. This is an outside basketball court. I think that's at Wilmington. Saying probably one of the biggest challenges, well, this is Angels Gate. Kind of, I'm sure eventually some exciting things will be happening at Angels Gate. We just put out a request for proposals. The group that's located there presently put in a request to continue their operation there. That proposal is being analyzed by the staff, and within a few days or months we will, of course, award that contract, and it'll be coming before the Board of Recreation and Parks. I think the other challenge on the positive side is to try to keep up with the current trends in parks and recreation. Just to mention a few, the Senior Citizens Program. We've had a very active program for the last number of years, but the last 5 or 6 years that emphasis has kind of enlarged, if you will, where it used to be recreation activities. Now it's legal services and medical services and food programs, and so we're seeing a whole expansion of the Senior Citizens Program. I think we're just this past year beginning to get into the daycare. I think that'll, with the Latchkey program for the children who need some care before school in the morning, care in the afternoon. A couple of those centers are located in the San Pedro area, Wilmington area. So we want to stay, on the negative side, we want to solve some of the problems that we have, and on the positive side, we want to stay in the forefront of recreation and park activity.
I know the County Department of Recreation and Parks has announced their intention to do some commercial endeavors on county park property. What are the prospects that we'll be getting more commercial type facilities in our parks?
Well, during the Prop 13 era, I personally felt that if we didn't raise additional money in fees and charges and some commercial development, that we were going to slowly sink into the sunset, because it looked like that funds were just going to dry up. We came up with many creative ideas. The Griffith Park fee was one of those ideas. Having restaurants in some of our parks were some creative ideas. Building batting cages. We had a lot of creative ideas for doing that. I must say that the citizens, as well as the council, were not very enthusiastic about those creative ideas. It seems to me that as we moved away from the Prop 13 era, now we have raised revenues. That means that we were taking in about 10 million back in Prop 13. We're now taking in about 15 or 16 million. So
are those monies, do they come from fee-supported activities, or where do those monies come from?
The half of the money comes from GOF. So of the 15 million, about 6.5 million come from GOF. The rest of it comes from swimming pool fees, tennis fees, those kind of fees. We do have concessionaires at our golf courses. In other words, each of our golf courses has a concessionaire who sells balls and shirts and golf equipment, as well as food. So we get a percentage of that. So when people rent the parks for a picnic and pay a $25 fee, that's included in that. Our recreation centers that offer music classes or baton twirling or arts and crafts, they pay a small fee. So we take in, our budget's about $59 million, and so we take in roughly 25% of our budget. Now, compared with other big cities in the United States, somewhere between 25 and 30% is the average fees. If you go to some smaller communities, there are even some communities in the United States that take in 100% of their total budget through their fees and charges. But I think as the financial picture of the city has improved, I think the citizens are satisfied with us the way we are, and are not particularly interested in us becoming more commercial. That's my perspective.
I think I'm getting the same kind of feedback from the community. In regard to financing, can you explain for our viewers the Quimby fees?
Yeah. The city of Los Angeles, when I go into a community and they say, why don't you build me a new swimming pool or a community center or something, we get almost no money from the city council for construction of facilities. We get it from three sources. One, the federal government, we've been very successful in getting grants. Two, state bond issue monies, and about every 3 or 4 years the state had passed a bond issue. And the third is Quimby fees, which are fees that developers pay a percentage of the land cost to add recreation activities for the subdivisions that they build inside the city. We, in the last 10 years, have taken in somewhere around $50 million in Quimby fees. Now, the council has put the restriction, that's a state enabling legislation, but the council sets the rules and regulation. And those rules are that the money must be spent within 1.5 miles of the location that the fees were generated. And so, unfortunately, for some sections of the city, there are very few Quimby fees. Other sections of the city where there's been a lot of development, out in the Westwood area, for example, we have one park that has about $4 or $5 million in Quimby fees at that one location because of the construction along Wilshire Boulevard. And so Quimby fees then are developers' fees that must be spent for additional recreation activities within a 1.5 mile distance of where the fees are generated.
I'm beginning to see a little bit of crack in that program, in that some developers are now asking for, and at least one has received, an exemption from paying Quimby fees by providing, say, more low-income housing. And I think the department has not been in favor of that. Is that?
No, our board was not in favor of that. And of course, the city attorney has given the opinion that it was not legal to do that. That's still in the discussion stage with the city attorney. We have not, even in that one instance, we have not returned those fees to the developer. So I'm hoping that that we keep those fees, and I know some communities will say, but we don't get any Quimby fees. We've been lucky here. In the last 10 years, we've spent $200 million. $50 million of it was for Quimby, and $150 million was from federal grants and state grants. So what we've been able to do is put those three programs together, and we did a little analysis just a year or so ago, and within 1/2 of 1 percentage point, those monies have been spread equally around the city in low-income, high-income areas, and so we hope that mix will continue. So I hope the council does not vote to return any more Quimby fees.
Yeah, well, I agree with the department on that one. There's been some controversy, or at least some changing in the methods of providing lifeguards at Cabrillo Beach. What is the present status, and is that status going to continue?
Well, the long-range goal was to put everything at the museum under one leadership. So the parking and the museum and the maintenance and the lifeguards were all under one head, and that head being the Department of Recreation and Park, plus the Yacht Harbor maintenance and that whole package. So we are doing those things. As I understand, the county still provides lifeguard service for the outer beach, and we provide lifeguard service for the inner beach. We have been negotiating with the county on a couple of things about maintenance in conjunction with Venice as well as the Marine Museum. There is a possibility that through some contract arrangement we might let them handle all the lifeguard service. But at the present time, we are providing a lifeguard service on the inner beach.
Well, we have a lot of very lovely facilities in our district, and I appreciate your taking the time to be with us this evening and letting our viewers have a little closer look at Jim Hadaway, the General Manager of Recreation Parks Department, and some of the issues and facilities that you're working on.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks a lot. I'm pleased that you've joined us for Inside Community Issues, and I'd like your feedback. If you have suggestions or ideas or comments about this program, please write to me. Councilwoman Joan Milky Flores, Inside Community Issues, Room 237, City Hall, Los Angeles 90012. Recently, I received a letter from Dr. Eldon Scolo of San Pedro, and he writes in part about the then deteriorating condition at Averill Park. Certainly there must be some funds to maintain this very beautiful park. Old Dr. Averill would turn over in his grave if he knew the city was allowing this to happen. Thank you, Dr. Scolo, for taking the time to write. I'm happy to report that quite some time prior to your letter, I had been working with the city's Recreation and Parks Department to provide for the maintenance of this beautiful park. The restoration program was started in August, and I'm sure everyone will enjoy the beauty of this very special park when the work is completed. This is our quick question segment, and to ask a pertinent question on an important issue in my area is my legislative deputy, Julie Calgren. Julie, welcome.
Thank you. Joan, I know you are very involved in the issue of public housing, particularly since your council district has more public housing projects in it than any other city council district. What do you feel the future of public housing should be in the city of Los Angeles, and what do you think needs to be done to get started?
Well, frankly, I feel that it's really a mistake to have housing projects as we know them today and have all of the very poor of our city congregated in one area. And it's my hope that through some innovative help from the private sector that we will be able to begin to disseminate some of these families throughout the community. I think it will be certainly in the best interest of the residents of the housing projects and also for the city as a whole. And I think that will spur new interest in low-income families to begin looking for ways to provide their own housing. And it will also lessen some of the problems that are a part of housing project living.
How do you think that will benefit the people who live in low-income housing projects now, as well as the residents of the entire city of Los Angeles?
Well, they'll be, if this comes to pass, these people would be located in areas where there are people who get up every morning and go to work, their neighbors, and going to school with kids who are not part of the housing project syndrome. And I think that it will give a new light to how the average Los Angeles citizen lives and what their goals are. And I think for the rest of the city, they will begin to see that we do need to provide more housing for low income, but that it should be generally a program that's shared by all citizens of Los Angeles and not just those in the particular areas where the developments are located.
Thank you, Joan.
Thanks for being with us, Julie. I hope you will join us for the next edition of Inside Community Issues. My guests for November will be students from Harbor College and Cal State Dominguez Hills, and David A. Reed, who is the Assistant Director of the Street Maintenance Bureau for the city's Public Works Department. Until then, this is our community to live and work in, to improve, and to enjoy.
Hi, welcome to Entertainment Profile. I'm Sandy Tate Thomas.
And I'm Suzanne Condon.
Entertainment Profile is a show that deals with all aspects of the entertainment business.
And today we have with us an actress who's also a friend. We met her at a seminar at USC about 2.5 years ago, and we saw her again just recently at another seminar, and we could not believe the progress that she's made in the last 2.5 years.
It's incredible. Here's a woman who's 40 years old and has made a major career change, not to mention into the acting world. A mother of 5, and we want you to share some of your secrets of success with us today. So welcome to Maureen Nunn.
Thank you. I'm just really delighted to be here. It's probably the highlight of my last 2.5 years. Thank you so much for asking me to be on your show. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, let's start from the beginning. We know that you were a teacher. You had taught for many, many years. And then, as we said, and not to push it, at the age of 40, you decided to make a major career change.
Right. I was teaching Spanish to Americans and English to foreigners. So as you can imagine, in the classroom, I was really literally giving 5 performances a day, and to try to keep the students motivated. And we didn't have really well-written textbooks when I was teaching in East LA for the people to learn English. So I was virtually, doing shows to try to teach them to speak. And as you said, at the prime age, I'm glad that 40 is in.
It is.
At the age of 40, I decided that my performances in the classroom, it was time for a career change. And so I enrolled in a local school of ongoing beauty and charm and took the courses. And then I called a friend of mine who was working in the industry. And I said, David, I really need your help. Are you ready for this? David knows that I am totally insane, so that's always given me a lot of leeway for my behavior. Maureen is totally nuts, so what is it this time?
Well, up until this point, had you ever had any inkling towards acting? Or did this just come all of a sudden?
I have always been a wonderful spectator and love to go to theater, and I have been in some theater production, but mostly in Spanish. That was my major at USC. So it's been mostly in Spanish, and being fluent in 2 languages has made me almost incoherent in English. So to get on with the subject, the reason that I pursued this was the fact that I really someday thought I would love to be on stage. And so when the career change happened, I thought, I'll go for it. I'll commit and I'll go for it.
Okay, so you called your friend David.
So I called my friend David and I said, I need your advice and I need your counsel. Are you ready for this? He said, the first thing you do, Maureen, is you go to the bookstore and you buy this book called Your Film Acting Career that was written by M.K. Lewis and his wife Rosemary.
Right, and we're both familiar with
And
that. I think a lot of people think of it as the Bible.
The Bible of the industry. And after, he said, and don't call me back until you finished reading the book. That was my first assignment. And I thought, now I'm being taught, right? I've been the classroom teacher, but now I'm being taught. So I rushed out literally to the bookstore, was practically in an accident because I was reading the book on the way home, finished reading the book, was so totally enraptured with this book that I called the author of the book and asked him if I could take his class.
You went straight to the top.
I went straight to the top, and am I glad I did.
And I think that's
wonderful.
one thing about you that I've noticed, is you don't hesitate to make those phone calls or to think twice about anything. You just go for it.
That's part of my insanity. Part of the thing that I just go to the
works
top.
for you.
It really does. It works for me. So I took his class, and I loved it. And I studied at the same time with voiceover with Louise Shamus. And then I took Beverly Long's workshop.
For commercial class.
Commercial class, and Tepra Gallegos commercial class. And then I took Rick Walters' acting class.
Okay, so here we've got someone who
him.
decides to enter the acting profession. Most people would start out with 1 class. You started out with 5 classes.
And you went simultaneously.
While you're raising 5 children.
Right.
I do everything intensely. I got married and had 5 children. I mean, if I'm going to do it, I do it intensely.
So you were probably studying 40 hours a week.
I was studying a lot, but I loved it, and so it didn't seem to me like it was studying. I really enjoyed everything I was doing, and I literally burned up 1 car, with the freeway, going to Hollywood, and but things have a way of working out. I met wonderful, wonderful people all along the way.
What was your first tiny break? What
What happened after the classes?
Yeah.
Is there life after classes? Is there life after classes? Along with the classes, because I didn't have an agent, somebody suggested in one of the classes that I subscribe to Dramalog. So I said, taking every tip along the way, I subscribed to Dramalog. and there was an open call for my agent, Linda Marie, whom I absolutely love. So I went on the call, and I
All right,
took
what
all-
did you take with you on the call?
I took with me all of M.K. Lewis's wonderful hints and lessons for cold reading, and it was very invaluable because I had to do a cold reading before I was introduced to Linda Marie. In other words, they had a screening person there, and then they took me down the hall to meet this delightful woman.
And
so
here
you went in prepared.
Yeah.
You had your tools with you.
But you had no credits to your name, other than you'd taken 5 very strong classes.
And I had a burning desire to work.
Yeah, which I'm sure showed. All right, what about pictures? Did you have pictures?
Pictures. In the book, Your Film Acting Career, M.K. Lewis gives you everything you need, and one of the things he gave was with the photographers. So I called and asked, you know, among the class, and Buddy Rosenberg's name came up, John Gibson's name came up, and so I enlisted their help and had my first headshot shot by Buddy Rosenberg.
And do I have that one? The first headshot?
The first headshot.
Is that this
right.
one?
That's the first
Okay.
one.
And that was for commercials.
That was for commercials.
Just
And
a clean headshot that shows Maureen.
Right.
Not
And
glamour, not character.
This is what you took with you when you went to visit your agent.
right. That's
Your potential agent.
my potential agent, yes. So I took that headshot and took my notes. M.K. Lewis gives you a wonderful sheet and has written down for the cold reading. So I took that, and I took a tip from a friend: walk into the office acting like you have been there before.
Which is very hard to do.
And then M.K. Lewis said, be prepared for anything the minute that doorknob turns. I found a wonderful smiling face and a man who had me cold read. Then I went down the hall to Linda Marie, and she signed
She
me.
liked you.
So I was really lucky. I was
But you were prepared. It wasn't just luck. You were prepared. You knew how to audition. You knew what you were going to be doing. You had it set.
But I was terrified. I know. I think that you could see everything was just, I think the freckles on my hands were moving. I was so scared. I really was.
So then what happens? Did she ever call you or for a reading or?
She said right that day in her office, she said, you know, I would like you to come to work for me. We kind of decided right there. And so from then on, I knew I was in good hands. She's a wonderful agent. And she sent me out on my first call to ABC that was doing a pilot. And
Can you believe that?
No.
it was,
You weren't in the unions.
I was not in the unions,
And you
no.
got this call to go out there.
I'm sorry, I was a member of AFTRA. I had just gone
You
down
joined.
and joined AFTRA.
Which
right.
anyone can do.
Which anyone can do, right? And took out a loan from from my husband, said, I need some money from our checking account, and I went down to AFTRA and joined that. The pilot was AFTRA. And so I learned that day that if you're a member of AFTRA and you do after work, that you wait a year and you become a member of SAG, which is in MK's book.
So
wait, was this less than a year after you started?
Or
I mean,
within
was
the
this a
year?
couple months after you started, and that you did this and
This
were
was-
eligible for SAG a year later? I mean, was
Right,
it
I had,
like
I think
3
in the-
months into the process.
3 months into the process, right.
Wow.
So
I
here's
was
someone that, everybody probably said to you, you're crazy, you're out of your mind,
Yes,
you're
but
entering the most difficult business
They
in
did.
the world.
But they also know how innately crazy I am. So they, as I said, that gives me a lot of leeway for my behavior. So they just said then, well, go for it. I mean, it was like, what can we tell Maureen? I mean,
Right.
we want to encourage you, but at the same time, we want to be realistic about this. That there are many members of SAG. But I thought to myself, it's like getting in my car in the morning and driving on the freeway. If I thought of all the negative statistics of not making it in my car, I would never get on the freeway. And I guess it's that same attitude I have that I just didn't consider the negative. I kind of, went for the positive.
Right, definitely.
And
Tell us a little bit about what it was like, your first audition for a CBS pilot.
it was really, this was for the ABC pilot, and it was really,
Excuse me.
that's okay. I know.
They don't care.
I'm all the same. I'll get them all reversed too. It was interesting from the fact that it was a show where I had to actually memorize copy. They put me on camera so that it was all of the things that I had learned in class that you did, but it came bango. I mean, it was done as fast as I could think. It was done. So I was on camera. They said, we'd like you to give a monologue, and I had from MK's class and from Rick Walters' class, I had prepared monologues.
Did you know going in that you were going to do a monologue?
I had no idea at
Oh,
all.
my goodness.
Not at all. And and being even on camera for the first time on a
That was your first time? You
that
hadn't
was
been
my,
on camera in
That was my
classes?
first time that actually was on a station camera. They use the video cameras in class occasionally, but this is the first time I was on a really biggie. And
Big time.
So how long was your monologue?
my monologue was probably about, and for me, this is short because I tend to be extremely long-winded. It was about a minute and a half. And so they did that, and then luckily I resembled. The show is a spin-off of To Tell the Truth, and so I was lucky enough to resemble the girl's mother, and so I got the part, and I couldn't even believe it. I was just ecstatic.
That is wonderful.
I was really happy. I even phoned home. I said, "Oh God."
And they said, "Mother who?"
Motherhood, exactly. You
So
could never.
did any opportunities arise from that, or what was next? What happened?
Well, I got my SAG card from that, which
You waited a
which
year.
I waited a year, and I'm really grateful to this wonderful show. And it was fantastic.
Because that
working on it.
happened so early in your career.
It was terrific.
And
So
most people are acting or aspiring to act for 5 years before they even maybe get their card. From
And
what
I-
I've heard.
and I heard those stories, and I thought I understand what they're saying, but
But I can do it.
I can do it.
Yeah,
And
that's the attitude you need to take.
There's
in
a
this
will,
business.
there's a way.
well, I'm married to a former Olympic athlete who won the bronze medal in 1968 in the Olympics, and his motto is, "You just believe in yourself, you make a commitment, and you just do it."
Plus, he's also extremely supportive, and as you
He's
say,
wonderful. He's
kind of
Mr.
a Mr.
Mom.
Mom, which helps
Love you,
with
John.
those 5 children. All right, tell us something. You've been in it for 2.5 years. How much money have you spent?
Ooh, I'm going to wiggle in my seat. I'm going to really wiggle.
Now we're really getting down to the nitty-gritty.
We are getting down to the real nitty-gritty. Okay, John, I want you to close your ears. Don't listen to this. I would think, in all honesty, in the last 2.5 years, probably with pictures, classes, gasoline to class from Palos Verdes, probably about $10,000.
Okay, now here's the question of the evening. How much have you made in the last 2.5 years?
I need to win the California lottery real badly. I need to be lucky. Probably, I think about $2,500.
Which, though,
I'm
is
really-
a lot more than a lot of people at
That's
this
right.
stage of the game.
And everyone says if you're in this for the money, you should get out, right?
It certainly does help.
I mean, you've
though,
got to have
yeah.
the love of it.
No, I really have the love of it. And somebody asked me the other day, why are you in it? And they said, are you in it for the money? And I couldn't really deny that part of it. I said, yes, it will go all to my favorite charity, which is Nunn and Associates.
Those 5 children in
With
college.
5 children in college, right. Oh, which is major.
All right,
So-
so you not only did the pilot, but you also landed 2 national commercials, all within this short period of time.
That was due to some wonderful teachers that I had, whose classes that I took, and they were just so willing to help because they never forgot where they came from.
In both
Yes.
cases?
In the case of the TWA commercial,
Right.
that was Beverly Long, and she called me on that casting, which was wonderful.
You were in her class at the time.
I was in her class at the time, and
Did
I'd
you-
also taken a class of hers. That's where we met at that
Right,
USC
right.
seminar, and she has never forgotten where she came from, and she's always willing to help a fellow actor.
That's nice.
It
And
is.
what about the Harrison Frank?
The Harrison Frank? My agent sent me out on that, so that was really fun to work on that too.
Okay,
Got to change
just for a minute, I want to go through a few of your pictures. Now, talk about prepared. You've got a look for everything. I mean, most people have a composite and maybe a headshot, but you seem to have just about every area covered. So start out with your composite. You start out and you have your headshot that I think we've already seen.
Right, that was
Or similar.
that was Buddy
Mhm.
Rosenberg's shot, right, and it got me into a lot of doors. He's a fantastic photographer.
It's real natural looking.
He's a wonderful man to work with.
Right, and
Okay.
then on the back, you've got 4 different looks. Kind of upscale.
Right, and those were the look that they were looking for at that particular time, which was career,
Right.
upscale, lawyer, attorney, businesswoman,
Bank executive.
bank executive.
And you also do some print work in fashion, so I'm sure some of these help for that.
Right, they did.
Okay.
They did.
All right.
Next, we have
Okay.
Maureen.
This is Maureen, the attorney,
Right.
businesswoman.
And I'd like to say that Justin Wild was my photographer on these, and I think he's a wonderful photographer. These were all shot outdoors, which is a new approach. I've never shot outdoors, and he does a masterful job.
Okay. And then we've got your basic General Hospital look.
The General Hospital look,
So-
right?
Okay. I'm saving the best for last.
Yeah,
Dr.
you have a
Nunn.
lot of.
This is another just upscale businesswoman, which you probably got a lot for. And then her children say that this one resembles her most closely.
That is the one. That is Mom. Motherhood and
You're gonna
apple
have to have a
pie.
talk with those kids. Their image is misconstrued.
That is Mom, right.
Now, what do you use this one for?
I use that one probably for pioneer look, for mother load, for just a real natural look.
Real
This is called
natural.
And it was funny how the way he did this one too, because he shot this one at the very end of the day, and he took me to a horse stable, and because I had no idea, and he said, just take off all your makeup, and we'll shoot it, and that's what happened. And that's one of my favorite, believe it or not, pictures.
But when you go into the interview, do you go in looking like that? That's the trick.
Have you gone out? Have you gone out for anything that you've used?
I
that
have to
picture?
tell you the truth. I did. I went on an audition for a bubblegum company recently looking similar to that.
And
I don't know whether they like the look that way. I mean, that's what they were looking for, but I haven't heard back from the company. So,
Well, I think that's great that you took the chance to make a picture like that. A lot of people wouldn't.
it's
not
so in
glamorous.
keeping with my nature, you know. It's
Right.
And I grew up in a 4-H environment, raising chickens and goats and horses. So that to me is a lot easier.
did your agent encourage you to do this, to make the investment in all these different looks, or was that something you just wanted to do?
She did. She's helped me really every inch of the way, and she's been invaluable.
That's great.
And she's very eager to help.
So does she handle you commercially and theatrically and print?
Print, right? Print and commercially.
But you also make a lot of your own opportunities theatrically. I know we've talked a little bit about that. In fact, I know today you had a meeting with Tom Palmer from The Young and the Restless.
Which was so exciting because we are, you can imagine, with 4 teenage daughters, they never leave for school until the VHS is plugged in and it's on The Young and Restless. That's their favorite show. So when I met with him today, it was, oh my gosh, Mom, could all of us go with you? Because they, you know, it was
Right,
really
a real
exciting.
homey feeling. I mean, like
It was. It was
All right,
wonderful.
Tell us about that. Okay, we know
How
that.
did you get it? First of all.
This was really something. A lot of people know my love for The Young and Restless. So when I got a phone call from somebody who said that they were with Screen Actors Guild card, I honest to goodness thought it was a joke initially. And she said, no, I'm really with Screen Actors Guild, and we go through pictures regularly, and we just happened to select your picture, and I thought,
Yeah, right.
okay, I believe anything in this industry. This is wonderful. I will go. When do I go? She said, can you go on Thursday at 9:45? I said, I don't even believe that you're calling. You have made my entire day. The
When
only-
was this? Tuesday or Monday?
This was this Monday, right, to set up for this
Okay.
Thursday. So it was just incredible. I couldn't even believe it. This industry is just so exciting to me. And meeting with Tom Palmer, he's just a wonderful person.
So what happened? You got there. Were you prepared? I mean, did you know what you were going to say? Did you know the approach you wanted to take?
What's
with
the
him?
MK Lewis approach? I know you thought about that.
The MK Lewis approach is to really go in and to have a topic of conversation, be interested, be interesting, and to really talk to the person as if maybe you were having just a chat about the show or whatever.
Right.
But my enthusiasm is totally genuine for this type of thing.
It
As you can see, I talk.
It sounds though like you took control of the conversation. I mean, you
It wasn't
guided
hard.
it.
It really wasn't hard because I mean I couldn't say enough things about The Young and Restless.
I know.
So
I love
tell-
that show too.
And I would say, we want to know what happened. Did Jack do it? And Jill is just, I'm sorry, dear Lord, but Jill is really, she is really witchy.
And what did he say?
But she really is kind of evil.
Oh, that's
So,
a cute one.
it was
so
fun.
tell us exactly. You walked in and you started the conversation. What'd you say?
I said, he was looking at my headshot, and I didn't take in my Tobacco Road one, but he was
Which
looking at my
headshot?
head.
This one?
I took in my upscales one.
Did you confer with your agent on this?
You don't have that particular
okay.
shot here.
More a glamorous.
A glamorous upscale look. It's very much like these only have a sequin jacket on, and so I took that one in, and while he was reading the resume, I just said, "Excuse me for interrupting, but I just have to tell you."
You did
That's a good
interrupt him.
idea, I think.
Especially when you don't
Don't
you
have
have
anything on
a
your
wonderful resume. But for someone that doesn't, you're really locked in. If he's starting to read your resume, you're in big trouble. I know from experience.
Oh, well, my enthusiasm was, I was so excited. I really wanted to tell him what had happened about the phone call from Screen Actors Guild and about this wonderful woman who called me. And then I wanted to tell him that, honest to goodness, we have 4 teenage daughters who will not go off to Palos Verdes High School until, this is plugged in. They love the show. So that's what I wanted to tell him, and I told him. And then I was so appreciative. This man is so caring and compassionate that he gives of his time to meet actors who...
yes. We
He
had
was
him on
our
our show.
last guest, and
Right.
that was something that was really amazing to us, that he's the only casting director currently that's affiliated with Screen Actors Guild with this program, where he sees regularly 1 actor a week. And these are
Without
usually
agents.
people without agents.
Mhm.
And it's really just because he's being kind.
He was really wonderful. I told him that I had an agent, and he just was a wonderful man. He was.
But your agent is primarily for commercials and print.
She does commercials, and she does print, and then she does handle theatrical. But she is, she's just he was very compassionate of the whole situation.
So did you ever say, I would love to be on the show?
I certainly did.
And then
Because
what did he
I
say?
would. He said, well, there's, we have your photo and your resume, and he said that he would, very much
Consider
welcome.
you?
Right, welcome the opportunity. So
And now what? What are you
Now,
going to do
yes.
now?
What is Maureen Nunn going to do?
what am I going to do? Well,
What does M.K. Lewis say to do?
Well, what Maureen concurs with M.K. Lewis. I wrote him a hearty thank you note because it was from my heart to tell him thank you for opening that door for me. And he's a nice man. I think I might give him a telephone call and
And just
say-
keep in touch?
And keep in touch.
On a regular
I told him
basis.
that I spoke Spanish fluently, and I asked him if he did, and he said no, he didn't. So I will speak to him in English, and it's no call.
Forget that topic of conversation.
Forget that topic is right. So.
All right, well, tell us a little bit about what you're doing now. I mean, you've started a cable show.
And I must comment on your cable show. It's absolutely brilliant, really.
of course. Thank you.
It is. No, it is. Three Hats, having just done this on Tuesday and having been seated in your seat and doing an interview, you do it flawlessly and effortlessly, and congratulations. I mean that from the bottom of my
thank you.
heart.
You will be on again in about 2 weeks.
Yes, we will definitely monitor your progress.
Oh, it is a grand undertaking.
What is your show about?
My show is called Everyday Heroes, and it's about ordinary people who have achieved extraordinary things in their lives. And one of the persons who will be on the show will be Jim Gamble,
Puppeteer.
the puppeteer, right, who is my next door neighbor,
Oh, you're
their
kidding.
family is just tremendous. So that will be on it.
It's such a cute title. Did you
Oh,
think
I'm
of that?
glad you like it. No, I can't take credit for it. I said I wanted to do this show, and I was talking to my writer, to a fellow who's helping me out, and he said, I think you want a show dealing with heroes, and he, right off the top of his head,
That's such a snappy.
it's good.
It's great.
But it's
So you're just getting started. What is
just
your
getting
main
started.
goal of the show?
The main goal of the show probably is to draw people out in what they have achieved and how they have achieved it, and their interests in life and how they have pursued what they're doing and gotten to where they have gotten. And as you can see, the format has not been established. I'm not as organized as you are right now.
No, but have you seen the same underlining enthusiasm and philosophies of these people? I mean, what
yes.
you exhibit?
They're-
Positive thinking.
They're really easy to be with, and they have a message, and I think that message is believe in yourself and then go for it. And don't worry about how your house looks. My husband is definitely getting with that. Your
You hear that,
priorities
everyone?
are
You
not
hear
in the
that?
right position. I mean, so what if it looks like poltergeist, and as Bill Cosby says, that your clothes came in here to die. I mean, it's what he says about, he has
Yeah,
5
I
children, and
know.
we do too.
We're declaring ours a national disaster.
Oh, gosh.
Sorry. It doesn't matter. I mean, in the final analysis.
That's true, because as my husband says, the house will always be here. It's, do what you're going to do and then go for it.
Right.
So I have a tremendous encouragement at home.
You know, you're always creating opportunities for yourself. That's obvious. I think we've made that pretty clear today. There's one thing that we skipped over, and I just want to touch on it real briefly. in the beginning, you had been going to this Chamber Theater just as a spectator because you enjoyed theater. This is before you made your major career change. And then you said that you went down and you auditioned for a part, and your first audition for theater, you landed the lead role
That was
in a play.
That was really intriguing.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I mean, I just don't think we can go without mentioning that, because you're saying, well, I've had all these lucky breaks, but there's certainly got to be a lot more to it than that.
Well, you pick up on things extremely well. Because I had been to Chapel Theater so often, I got to know a lot of the people who were there. And because I loved it so much, so when I went down to audition, it was almost like auditioning with friends. And so when I was lucky enough to get the lead role, it was probably because of the fact that I had been there and I had talked to people and I had met the director and I had met the producer, and I really basically...
You felt familiar.
I did, exactly. Those are my feelings. I felt very familiar. So when I got the role, it was like really being home on stage.
That's wonderful. Well, here we are. You're a woman who's super successful after 2.5 years.
Oh, gosh, I have such a long
You got
way to go.
a lead in a theater production, which most people work for a long time to get. You've landed a role on a pilot on ABC. You've done 2 national commercials. You do print
your
work.
foot's in the door.
And
You have a cable
the
show.
The foot's in the door, but I have a long way to go. I just would like to say that it would not be possible if it were not for people along the way of giving of themselves. Rick Walters, my acting coach, Beverly Long, all these people who have just encouraged me and said, you know, believe in yourself and go for it. And they have made it almost effortless in the fact of that. There have not been the huge hurdles.
Right. Thank you for sharing your secrets of success. It seems to me it's confidence, commitment, and perseverance. Thank you, Maureen.
Thank you for having me here.
And this is Entertainment Profile. I'm Suzanne Condon.
And I'm Sandy Tate Thomas.
When the house fell asleep, there was always a light, and it fell from the page to the eyes of an American boy. In a storybook line, I could dream what I read. When it went to my head, I'd say, I wanna be a hero. I wanna be a hero. But the practical side said the question was still, when you grow up, what will you?
Hello, I'm Maureen Nunn, and I'll be your host for this program called Everyday Heroes. We will be talking to some incredibly wonderful people who have become heroes within their own right by using and finding that inner strength, which is the power, the genius, and the magic in all of us. Our guests for the show are members of the Peninsula Committee for the Los Angeles Philharmonic Orchestra, and I'm really thrilled to have them here. Our first guest is Nancy Holzhaus, who is the general chairman of the 15th Annual Music Fair. This show this year will be, as I understand, on October the 12th, which is also my husband's birthday, so I have this firmly ingrained in my head, Sunday, October the 12th at Chadwick School. Nancy, can you tell us about the music fair, please?
Basically, it's a day of family fun and entertainment, including music, jazz, folk, country, and classical music, as well as dance. And we have a special children's area. We have a picnic area where people can come and bring their own picnics or buy food that we have.
The Nunn family will definitely be there, all en masse, probably occupying the space under an entire tree. What is the purpose of the fair, Nancy?
It's really a twofold purpose. We have a committee set up to raise money for the Philharmonic Orchestra, but we also want to provide world-class musicians locally for the people in the South Bay and the LA area.
Can you tell us what a typical day is like at the fair?
Probably the best thing to do is to show you some pictures from last year to really get the flavor of the fair. The first picture is basically the grounds. You can see the trees, they're wonderful umbrellas, and people are just arriving. And that sort of gives you a feel for the campus. The Chadwick campus is a gorgeous place to have it, and the ambiance is wonderful. As you can see in the second picture, the picnic baskets are out, people are buying food, the blankets, people just enjoying the music, sitting under the tree, having a wonderful time. This third picture of the children's area shows just a wonderful shot of the kids and how much fun they're having, and just this beautiful setting for them. And our fourth picture in the amphitheater area shows one of the performances there.
It really looks so exciting. You have an incredibly enormous job, I know. How many women are members of the committee?
Totally, there are, on the Music Fair Committee, there are about 43. That includes our chairman and co-chairman. And I think the hardest part of my job was pulling together all of those people, orchestrating it so that we had the right people in the right jobs.
You must have a mind almost like a human computer to organize all these people into all these jobs. Now that you've really done the hardest part, what is really the most fun, what is your most fun job?
I think seeing it all come together, hopefully. Seeing everybody experts in what they're doing and how they interact and work together to produce it. It's almost like being a conductor. You know, you have the food people here in the grounds, and everybody needs to interact and pull it together so that it looks as though it was effortless.
And that's a mammoth job.
Yes.
And one that you do fantastically well. I am so excited about the show, and after talking to you, I'd like to run out immediately and buy tickets. And where can I do that? Where can I buy tickets?
Fortunately, this year, Ticketmaster will be handling our tickets.
Oh, that's great.
And we also have them, you know, Mr. B's, the Chadwick office. All of our members have them.
You have pre-sale prices, too, as I understand. And how much are those tickets?
The adult tickets are $10, and the children's are $5.
Super. Our next guest is Carol Denton, who is the music chairman. Besides having this really huge job, Carol is also the head pianist at Nordstrom's, and she's a piano teacher. And by the way, confidentially, she is also Nancy Holzhaus's piano teacher. We're delighted to have you with us today. Thank you so much. Would you please tell us what your job entails?
Well, basically, I'm in charge of getting all the entertainment, all the music for the fair. So it's a matter of looking at all the areas and... Well, it's a big job. It's a fun job, though. I get to really decide who's coming.
And what criteria do you use for selecting all these groups?
Well, that's kind of hard to say. We try to take a look at the fact that there are several areas, and we need something for every area. Some are outdoors, some are in, but mainly we want to get something for everyone. We want music for everybody who comes to the fair, all ages.
And how many people do you have coming to the fair, approximately?
I think we figure anywhere from 4,000 to 5,000 people.
So having 4,000 or 5,000 people and trying to meet the needs of all these people, giganto job. How in the world do you find these people? And then when do you find these performers? Do you audition all of them?
More or less. Now we're lucky. We have a combination of things that happen now. Previously, we had to search out all of our groups, but now that we have a reputation, this is our 15th annual fair, and we do have people coming to us. But I can really say that, at least this year, speaking for myself, I have heard all of the groups that will be coming. So, in a sense, they're auditioned. We know what
You know
we're
what
getting.
you'll have. And can you
Yes.
please tell us about, I'm really excited about this year's fair. What will I hear when I come? Tell us
You
about the
will
music.
Hear everything. I'd be delighted to share with you. Let me kind of go into the different areas so people can get an idea of what kinds of things we have in each area. We have our main amphitheater area, which is where the Los Angeles Philharmonic comes, and they will perform in 2 concerts, one at 2 for our youth and one at 4 o'clock. Also in that area, which is a lovely natural amphitheater where people sit out on the grass in like risers, and it's a beautiful area. We have Super Sax, an outstanding jazz group. And then we have a kind of a surprise this year, something different than we've had before, the Crossroads School Orchestra. It's a group of young people, mostly young high school age, who have a chamber music kind of a sound, and they're just superb, and they're going to have Ron Leonard playing a cello solo with them from the orchestra, so that should be super. We have an auditorium area, which is called Silly Mud Hall, and in that we have some kind of unique kinds of things. We have a guitar and violin duo. We have a Renaissance group, the Southern California Music Consort, a Renaissance, all dressed in Renaissance costume and
that
so on,
should be
with
so
wonderful
beautiful.
instruments, and they will also entertain the children separately in a separate performance. We have a marvelous brass group, the Fine Arts Brass Quintet, and let's see, one other group in that area. I don't want to miss a soul. We have our classic Irish songs. Neil and Pierce. It's a soprano and harp, and she plays the harp with the Philharmonic, one of them, and the other one is a wonderful soprano who's going to be
That should be just
singing. They're
beautiful.
They were here last year, and we had many requests to have them back. In the courtyard, which is the area that you first walk into, and which everyone sees first of all, we have some of our big sounds. We have a country rock group, Delta. We have the Jazz Miners, a Dixieland group. And then we have something that everybody should take time out for, the L.A. Matsuri Taiko Aiko Kai. This
is a mouthful.
I know. I don't know if I got it absolutely right.
Translate, please.
This is a wonderful group of Japanese drummers, and they have become quite renowned on the West Coast. They have huge drums, all sizes, and they kick them, they beat on them. They're very physical. It's an exciting group. And they also, I think, are going to bring along a group from Japan who's going to be visiting them and joining them this year. So that's going to be an exciting thing. And let me just see real fast who I've left out. In our courtyard, we have the PV High Jazz Band. We can't leave them out.
Yay, PV High.
Yes. And we have Winstrup Olesen, who is apparently quite a renowned conductor in the Scandinavian countries, is bringing along a Rhinelander band, and they're going to have some Bavarian dancers who are going to be very colorful.
So the Oktoberfest will partially take place.
Right.
That's
We'll have
wonderful.
Something for Oktoberfest.
Oh.
And then we have a Fife and Drum Corps, American Heritage Ensemble, and I'm hoping they're going to entertain the children too and have a parade that's going to be kind of led into the amphitheater area with the children marching.
Well, you certainly have done a magnificent job, and congratulations to you.
Oh, thank you. Oh, and don't forget the children. Don't forget the children's area. We have Sam Hinton, folk singer.
Wonderful.
And, of course, Jim Gamble. So I think it's going to be a wonderful day for everyone.
Carol, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to share it with us, and we'll look forward to seeing you at the fair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next guest is Carol Casper, and she is the president of the committee that puts on the fair. Carol, in just the title of the Peninsula Committee for the Los Angeles Philharmonic, can you tell us what this is?
That's what it is. The purpose of the Peninsula Committee for the LA Phil is to provide support and to promote the orchestra. We do what we can in terms of building audiences for attending the performances. And our principal fundraising effort is the Peninsula Music Fair on October 12th. This is the 15th annual, as somebody has said, and we have donated the proceeds to the orchestra every year.
And you have the Los Angeles Philharmonic always is performing at the fair then?
Yes, we've had the Los Angeles Philharmonic 2 performances every year. The first year was conducted by Zubin Mehta, and the following 3, Zubin Mehta was present and conducted the LA Phil in 2 performances at the fair.
And where did he conduct this?
In the Chadwick Amphitheater, right at the Chadwick School. It's a very heady experience to be backstage with the orchestra, with these heroes, I think, providing them with cookies, juice, whatever they might wish, and just rubbing shoulders with them.
What are some of the things that you do provide for them? You provide anything special that you know that they like particularly to eat?
Well, the general manager of the orchestra prefers lemon bars. The keyboard artist prefers chocolate chip cookies and some for her mother. These little things that you get to know as you work with the orchestra. This is, our committee members are all volunteers, and we're there just to, it's principally fundraising, but it's just to make them comfortable. And incidentally, the orchestra members do come, they bring their families, they perform in short sleeves.
So it's very informal. But no wonder they return, because you really provide for them a lot of care and a lot of love, and especially if you make lemon bars in your spare time and chocolate chip cookies.
I think it's a labor of love. I think that most of us are very interested in music, and it's very thrilling to look through your binoculars at a concert and, I've sat with him for lunch, or I know her, we discussed her next engagements.
Well, it sounds really exciting, and with your love for music and this experience, we can hardly wait to come.
We're looking forward to having you on October 12th. Please come.
Carol, thank you so much for being with us. And our next guest is Marty Gamble, who was a past president of the committee, and this year she has a monumental job. She is the chairman of parking.
On the field, I love to destroy. But some people destroy what I love, the forest. Every year, arson ruins wildlands, kills wild animals, and consumes valuable property. You can help. Report any suspicious activity to your local fire department. Be an arson buster.
Marty, you certainly have a grand task, but I know it will just come off so smoothly. Can you tell us about parking for the fair?
Well, we certainly anticipate for it to come off well. We've done it and practiced enough years that it should be pretty well put together. You know, Maureen, one of the nicest things about the music fair is the completely natural environment of Chadwick School, where, of course, the fair is to take place. And because it is so beautiful and untouched and natural, we don't have a great deal of parking space for our fairgoers. So we do, of course, provide shuttle buses, and the two areas that our fairgoers are parking in this year are the Academy Hills area, right at the base of Chadwick School, which will supply parking for many hundred cars during the morning. Then we do open up the county landfill area, which is located on Crenshaw Boulevard, right north of Palos Verdes Drive North, so that we have ample parking for up to 4,000 fairgoers. We really don't anticipate any problems. We have very happy bus drivers, and we'll be there to serve the public.
Yay! I know from my experience with the fair that the sound is absolutely tremendous. In fact, you are called the Hollywood Bowl South. Could you tell us why the sound is so effective?
That's a nice compliment. We like to think of that, too. I was sound chairman for 2 years in a row, and believe me, it's one of the biggest pleasures there is on that committee, because you're entitled as that chairman to work directly with all of the sound technicians from the Hollywood Bowl. Your viewers might be interested to know that we're very lucky. They truck huge truckloads of equipment down from the Hollywood Bowl. All of the sound equipment, all of the sound men, and they completely control all of the sound that is heard on Chadwick campus that day. It's perfect.
I'm happy for you, and I'm happy for me, too, that I get to hear such wonderful things. One of my favorite groups, speaking of sound, has been the Dukes of Dixieland, and I know you have a wonderful story to tell us about them.
Well, it's not a long story, but in 1980, I was the music chairman of the fair and had the pleasure of bringing in the Dukes of Dixieland that year to perform for us. They're a very special brand of music, and of course, they do come from New Orleans, so the logistics of getting this lovely batch of gentlemen here with all their instruments was tricky. They had hoped to have other bookings in the Los Angeles area that weekend, but it didn't quite fall together. So the Dukes of Dixieland, bless their hearts, flew from New Orleans on the morning of the day of the music fair, arriving at the Los Angeles International around about 10 o'clock. We picked them up in a limo, which was part of the deal, of course, had them at the music fair at 11 a.m., and they were on and blowing beautifully at 12 noon. They played from 12 to 1, but the time their performance was over, they loved the fair. They had taken the tuxedo at least the parts of the tuxedos off, and they were playing like just, you know, any relaxed group would have done to enjoy the day. They then left at the performance area, spent the entire afternoon roaming around, shaking hands, signing records, eating chili dogs, and everything else that was completely comfortable. Went back to the airport, got on the airplane for a 5 o'clock flight, and we're back in New Orleans 3 hours later.
I think they loved the show.
The nice thing about it was the next year they called and they said, couldn't we come again? So we were very pleased about that year.
That's a wonderful story.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing that with us, and thank you very much for taking the time to come. Our guest this afternoon is Jim Gamble, who is an internationally famous puppeteer. And Jim, you have been volunteering your time at the music fair for how many years?
Almost since it began. I think it was the second year that they had the music fair that I began doing shows there, and I've been doing them ever since.
That is really nice that you do that. And do you do the same show every year?
Oh, no, I have a different show every year. In fact, sometimes I think I suffer from a little bit too much overexposure in the local area here, but I do try and do something different every year. Last year we did a circus show, so this year I'll be doing a variety type of show.
That's wonderful. When I come to this show, we have 5 children who would not like to miss your show at all. Where do we go, and when does it start?
Well, the music fair has a whole area for children's entertainment, and the shows there are sort of balanced against the other activities so that the children will not miss, of course, the Philharmonic when they play the youth concert. But I perform right at 1 o'clock in the children's area. But there's things going on all day, not just me.
You said that you have been doing a different show every year, so you must have quite a few puppets. How many puppets would you think you have?
It's kind of hard to estimate because I've never really sat down and watched them. However, or counted them. However, we had to add quite an addition to the house just to house them, and when we were moving them in, I think I must have about 1,000 altogether.
1,000 puppets. So in that addition, those are the people who are
living in the addition.
But in the addition. And how many different shows do you have?
I have 8 or 9 in repertoire. My involvement with the Music Center down in Los Angeles, which is, of course, the reason for the music fair, has been on for a number of years. I'm on the Music Center on Tour program, and I have a complete hour-long show that I do in schools, which is Peer Gynt. And that's a classical work, and that took about 35 new puppets for that one show. And then I've got about 8 or 9 different themed shows in addition to that one. Christmas shows, Halloween shows, 4th of July shows, birthday party shows, all kinds of things.
And your Liberty puppet this year was wonderful, I know. Looking just like Lady Liberty and then converting into
the
birthday cake.
Well, I had to do something special for the Statue of Liberty celebration. I mean, that's the fun thing about puppetry and coming up with new ideas. I keep looking at what's current, you know, and sometimes if I don't do it very quickly, the currency fades pretty fast.
Well, speaking of current, I know that, is this your full-time occupation then?
Yes, it is. 3 years ago, I decided to give up flying airplanes for a living and go directly into the puppetry, and it's probably been the best decision I ever made. We do literally, well over 1,000 shows a year.
Oh,
and because we have oh yeah, it really is. And because we have so many calls for birthday parties and that sort of thing, I now have 4 other puppeteers doing my shows as well that we send out. This last year with the Music Center program, I did about 100 schools. And this past summer, I was at the Hollywood Bowl for the open house at the Bowl, and then up to Canada for Expo. So not only in the local area, but and all over the Los Angeles area, but in other parts of the country as well.
I think we're going to have to do an in-depth article about what Jim Gamble eats to sustain this absolutely bionic energy level that you have.
I think anytime you perform for children and audiences in general, you get so much feedback that's an energy source in itself.
Well, speaking of feedback and speaking of energy and puppets too, I hope that you brought along some of your friends with you today.
Oh, of course.
We would love to see them.
Want to see one of the new ones or one of the old ones
first? I certainly do. It doesn't matter, whichever. Who did you bring with you?
Let me get
oh, look at this.
My new
my gosh, hi.
Tap dancing chicken. This is Susie,
adorable.
and she will be performing at the music fair this year. And you can see she's a tap dancing chicken, although the taps don't work in the chair so well, do they?
Oh,
why don't you get up there so you can give Marina a better look? There you go.
How you doing, Susie?
She even does.
I love your shoes.
The chicken, you see.
Oh my golly! I don't even know whether I can do that or not. You are really good, Susie.
She taps and does a nice little routine. The little girls especially love her because of her Mary Jane shoes, as you can see. And she's so proud of her shoes, right? Right.
She's adorable. Hi, Susie.
And she's kind of cuddly and lovable. You want to wave goodbye to our audience out there? All right. And then I have an old famous one here too. Let me find that one for you.
Oh, known the world over.
Yeah. Every
Pinocchio.
puppeteer wants a Pinocchio on his show. And
hi, Pinocchio.
he's been with me a long time.
How old are you, Pinocchio?
Well, the actual story of Pinocchio, of course, was written over 100 years ago. And then a lot of people have written versions of Pinocchio. And I guess, of course, Disney's was the most famous. And this is sort of patterned after the Disney style with the look and all.
Now, will Susie and Pinocchio be at the show then
Susie
this year?
and Pinocchio will both be there.
Terrific. Oh.
So he's really, I think, one of the favorites, especially the kids on the peninsula, because they all see him at their birthday parties and things of this sort.
He's certainly one of mine. Pinocchio, I love your nose, too.
Oh, you want to rub noses?
Oh, I do. Oh, you're great.
There you go.
Well, I can hardly wait for the show. It's going to be October the 12th and Sunday.
And we'll be performing at 1 o'clock in the children's area.
We can hardly wait. Thank you so much for coming today.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Pinocchio. I would like to thank all of you for coming. And we would like to thank all of you for watching your program, created just because of you and me. Just ordinary, everyday heroes.
There was always a light, and it fell from the page to the eyes of an American boy. In a story of land, I could dream what I read. When it went to my head, I'd say, I wanna be a hero. I wanna be a hero. But the practical side said the question was still, when you grow up, what will you be? I wanna be a hero.
Billy, will you please stop playing with the water? Billy, the desk is not a drum.
Stop that! Cut that out. Teacher! Billy!
Has anybody seen Billy?
No. No.
Experience the joy of teaching. Call United Teachers Los Angeles at area code 213-487-5560.
Ready for the game today, Mike?
Just about. Hey, I haven't seen you around here in a while. How's your team doing?
Not so well. I sure could use some more good players.
Well, don't get burned out. Hey, I know where you can get some help.
You do?
Yeah. Come on.
Join Smokey's team.
And help prevent wildfires.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Clare Propper, noted author, lecturer, and educator, interviews the special people who provide the missing dimension to the news that affects you. Courageous men and women from all over the world who have taken a stand for truth and justice and become spokesmen for the flame of freedom. This week, Mrs. Prophet talks with representatives of the Afghan freedom fighters. Mr. Noor Delawari from the Panjshir Valley, Vice President of the Central Bank of Los Angeles. and Mr. Tawab Asifi from Kabul, engineer for the Irvine Ranch Water District.
Welcome to Summit University Forum, where the flame of freedom speaks. Our guests are Afghans here in Los Angeles who come to represent the freedom fighters in Afghanistan, Mr. Noor Delawari and Mr. Tawab Asifi. Mr. Delawari hails from the Panjshir Valley. He lived in Afghanistan until the age of 23 when he went to London.
Go. All right. Damn, again.
How you doing?
Oh, hello. Not too well, I'm afraid. I keep running out of chips.
Oh, no, we can't have that. Here, let's both play this, huh? We have a new shooter coming out.
Good Lord, that's got to be $100 worth at least.
If you don't help me lose it, it will be here till Christmas.
Well, what if we win?
Merry Christmas.
Okay.
All right, 7. Come on out. 7, 7. 7.
All right, let's do that again, all right? Here we go.
My tab, please.
There he is. Hi.
You did it, didn't you? About the kids.
Only the baby. Darling, something great. We've been talking about you.
About me?
Oh, Mark, tell him.
No, it was her idea, actually. See, I told her I'm considering an entire new schedule of insurance.
And I told him about this gifted and beautiful insurance agent I just happened to be married to.
Well, I thought if we could get together somewhere informally, I could spell out my exact requirements.
Sure. Fine. Just name the time.
Well, how about Saturday night? A little business and pleasure. Dinner at my country club. While you and I talk, then can enjoy the entertainment.
Oh, fantastic. Saturday.
Saturday night, then.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
It's The Fall Guy, weeknights at 6. Don't miss it. Our feature will return following these messages.
Lucky goes discount with thousands of lower prices.
By not offering gimmicks like cash dividends or double coupons, Lucky can offer low prices every day on every item. Lucky was the first major supermarket to offer discount pricing and the first to offer lower overall prices throughout the store every single day. Times have changed, but Lucky's commitment to lower prices hasn't and won't.
Nutritious. That describes every peanut butter because they all have about the same nutrition. But one stands out from the rest. It's not only nutritious, it's more. It's Peanuttier Jif, and it's delicious, with more fresh roasted peanut taste than any leading brand. Jif's made with only #1 grade peanuts, sealed in its jar while it's fresh and warm for delicious peanut taste.
Peanutty good.
Peanuttier Jif. Nutritious because it's peanut butter. Delicious because it's Jif.
There's crime in sports on the next Fall Guy.
You ain't beat me yet.
We'll see about that.
Lady wrestlers get sold out to the mob.
I'll never believe that Eddie sold us out.
And the syndicate's got a corner on the ring.
These kids won't throw a fight. Oh, yes, they would, Eddie, for you.
Now, Colt's out to beat their game.
Losing my patience.
In a fight to the finish on the next Fall Guy. Monday at 6 p.m.
We're late for the meeting. My car or yours?
Yours? Whose car is this? Ours. Is that your car? Uh-oh, better get Mako.
Mako state-of-the-art auto painting and body repair. High-tech, low prices keep Mako on top.
Step right in, little lady.
Okay.
If they're saying, uh-oh, better get Mako.
As president of Schaefer & Sons, I've authorized Colton Piano and Organ to sell 400 new Schaefer & Son pianos and organs this weekend. No down payment and a low 3.9% interest. That's no down payment and 3.9% interest on any new Schaefer & Son spinet, console, upright, grand, home or church organ. I'll also include a free bench and free delivery, and remember, it's a low 3.9% interest only at Colton Piano and Organ Supermarts, the world's largest.
This 2.9 factory financing and these big factory rebates are about to end. The whole thing ends on October 8th. If you want the best deal ever on a brand new Ford, car, or truck, you ought to give us a call. Now, we'd love to talk to you, and we'd like for you to call us collect. Worthington Ford is a big, friendly, giant supermarket of cars and trucks. Let's talk about the 2.9% financing. Let's talk about the rebates. Let's talk about the big trade allowances. Let's talk about our huge selection. Call us collect. We would love to talk to you. Worthington Ford in Long Beach, open to midnight. See you here.
This is really keeping up with the Dow Joneses, isn't it? Private dining room, bar. Oh, grandeur, I feel like Cyrus K. Vanderbilt.
I've never feasted so royally in my life.
Well, I am pleased. Now, if you're ready, the entertainment.
Oh, send in the clown.
No, better than that. Why don't I get Lynn settled in the other room, and then I'll come back in here, and we can get down to business.
Oh, fine.
Eh?
Oh, okay, bye.
Bye, sweetheart.
This is so nice of you. I can't tell you how much I appreciate what you're doing for Mary.
It's my pleasure.
Really, I can't thank you enough.
I have something here that I think you're going to enjoy.
This place is incredible.
Oh, yes. Cards, dice, roulette. Name your perversity. But unlike your public casinos, this one is private, discreet, and quantity illegal.
Place your bets. All bets down. No more bets, please. Hold the bets. 7 black. Odds the winner.
Why didn't you tell me? I've only got $5 silly with me for my dad money.
Mr. Powers, how good to see you. Thank you, Martin. Thank you. This is Mrs. Brisket, a very dear and personal friend of mine. I'd like to have a whole $2,000 line to play with.
Of course, Mr. Powers. I'll take care of it right now. Thank you.
$2,000? Oh, no. I mean, we haven't got that kind of money to spend.
No. This has nothing to do with your money. I have an account here. I want you to have a pleasant time.
No, but $2,000, Mark,
Listen, my love. This is my mad money that I spent here. Expense account money that I either have to get rid of or pay taxes on. I'd much rather please you than the government.
Cards? Would you care for a hit?
Well, maybe 100.
Right, maybe 100. But listen, you have $2,000, so please take advantage of it. Now, what would you like to start with? Roulette?
Oh, yes, fine.
Oh, Martin, just start off with $100.
Certainly, sir.
Now, you take good care of her, will you? You have a glorious time.
I will.
This is for our personal records, you understand.
Oh, yes, certainly.
100, please.
100.
All bets down. No more bets, please. Hold the bets.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Sound program. I like it.
Yes. And on those commercial properties, we've got a new term policy. It gives you just the protection you're talking about at half the premium you're paying now. I'd like to outline it for you.
Very nice indeed. Very creative package. I'll tell you what, give me a week, say 10 days to digest it, and I'll get back to you. I'm very impressed.
Take all the time you need.
Yeah, speaking of time, I think we'd better redeem your wife.
Oh, Nancy will be all right watching the show.
Show?
You did say entertainment, didn't you?
Oh, that's right. I did say entertainment, but she's not watching a show. She's gambling.
Gambling?
Yeah. Wait.
mean, I added their ages together, and I got 12, and I won
Come
600.
on, Lynn, it was blind luck.
No, but that's it. I'm lucky. Don't you realize? Think of it. I won $650. Just 5 nights like tonight, and we could pay off all those bills we're drowning in. We could maybe even
Lynn,
have...
stop.
As it is, I won nearly enough to pay off the car. That means...
That means you're hooked.
That means I won.
And the next time you'll lose or the time after. Lynn, you've caught a disease. Kill it now, quick. Up to now, your gambling's been a joke. The joke is over.
You don't understand. They said I was good. I was a natural. I believe it. Larry, I never felt anything like that in my life. It was almost too exciting to breathe. If I go back, I know that I can...
Lynn! No. No! Let's go to sleep. Turn off the light.
As president of Schaefer & Sons, I've authorized Colton Piano and Organ to sell 400 new Schaefer & Son pianos and organs this weekend. No down payment and a low 3.9% interest. That's no down payment and 3.9% interest on any new Schaefer & Son spinet, console, upright, grand, home or church organ. I'll also include a free bench and free delivery, and remember, it's a low 3.9% interest only at Colton Piano and Organ Supermarts, the world's largest.
Well, the thing is, lots of financial institutions will tell you how big and how safe they are. We think our customers deserve a lot more than just a safe place to put their money. One thing they deserve, for example, is having higher interest rates on higher balances. At California Federal, we came up with an account that does just that, and it's called tiered savings, keeping our customers' money safe and giving them a good return on their dollar. That's what CalFed means when it talks about well-managed money.
At Duracell, the race to be the best, to be the king of the road, goes on and on. Which is why today's copper top battery lasts up to 30% longer than the ones we made just 2 years ago. 30% longer. Today's copper top from Duracell. No battery lasts longer.
Turn up the music for Solid Gold 87, starring Marilyn McCoo. This week, soap heartthrob Jack Wagner's live on stage. And it's a rare television appearance for the legendary Moody Blues. There's the Motown rhythm and moves of the Temptations. Plus, music reporter Nina Blackwood's on location with John Fogerty on Solid Gold 87. Tomorrow at 1 p.m.
No more bets, all bets down.
Ah, Mrs. Briskin, I see you've made use of the pass key. I do hope you're winning.
Well, I'm not. As a matter of fact, I just lost what I won the other night.
Oh, that's too bad. But there's still the 2,000, you know.
What?
Oh, yes, Mr. Powers insisted that amount remain at your disposal.
7 black.
Well, maybe a few hundred.
I'll get it for you, Mrs. Briskin.
Thank you.
Place your bets. mostly black and off.
I'm sorry about your bad run today, but there'll be other days.
Never. Not for me. Never. I'm finished gambling.
Oh? In that case, then I assume we can expect your check in the mail.
My check? For what?
For the amount you signed for, $2,000. You see, Mrs. Briskin, Mr. Powers' name isn't there, just yours.
But I was standing right there when he told you to give me $2,000 to play with.
He was asking me to extend that much of a line to you, a line of credit to you because you were a stranger to the club. And as a courtesy to Mr. Powers, we did.
You baby, you remember? And you were good, I told you, remember?
Silly.
You were good. And I'll still sing songs to you, baby, only you'll do it on the air on Captain Person's show. What do you think, Sherry? Sherry? I'm sorry, Miss Bailey, our animal just...
Hello?
Lynn? This is Mark.
Where have you been? I've been trying to reach you for 3 days.
Yes, I just heard. Listen, I've cleared up that club problem. You don't owe them a penny. Can you come and see me? I'll explain.
Yes, of course I can. Yes, when?
Right now. I'm at my Middlegate house. Make some excuse. I think the sooner we ease your uncertainty, the better.
Captain Person could never say no to lamb chop. Oh, no, lamb chop,
Mark, you can't imagine how frightened I've been. $2,000. I had no idea where to get it. We spent every penny we'd saved last year when business fell off and everything went wrong. I was terrified. It could have ruined our marriage. I wouldn't know what to do if I had to tell Larry. Really, I think I'd rather die.
Would you like me to tell him?
What?
Well, I could tell Larry.
Tell what? You said I didn't owe them a penny.
Oh, that's right. I haven't explained it to you yet. You see, I bought your markers. So you owe the money to me now.
To you?
Yes.
But you... I thought... Mark, I'm all confused. You led me to believe that it was your money all along. Somehow that you'd given it to me.
My dear, I have no control over what you choose to believe now, have I? No. You see, the point is, I'll be leaving for Europe in a few days, and, you see, it's kind of a fetish with me. I never leave things unfinished. So you will have the money for me before I leave. Until then...
Before... Europe? But Larry's insurance proposals.
Until then, I'll be spending most of my time at my city address. Oh, Larry, yes, you see, sometimes business deals work out, and sometimes they don't. And, Larry's just didn't. Oh, here are the markers. Your markers. And they'll be waiting for you in the desk drawer of my city apartment when you bring the money. But I would presume to suggest that you get busy, because you only have a few days. I mean, that's all.
Sent by your husband to find out if you left him for an aspirin tablet.
I guess I dozed off.
My father. Just going home to bed. And to my husband, that means TV and a bad night's sleep.
I feel rotten.
You know, I've suddenly discovered it's not his business trips I resent anymore. It's his staying home I resent. And
Oh, why don't you stop, Karen?
Stop what, love?
Just stop whining and complaining about your miserable life. If it's so miserable, then for God's sakes, do something about it. You're not in prison. No law says you have to die if you can do something about it. I'm a fine one to be spouting advice.
Listen, before the party ends up in here, I'm saying goodnight. I have a stop to make. I won't be leaving with you.
Oh, you never did tell me why you wanted me to be sure and be here tonight.
It's not important anymore. We've had some good times together, we three, haven't we? Good night, my friends.
Night, Chris. Where's my bag? Outside next to mine. I'll be all right.
Jet away on AirCal. AirCal now gives you the lowest fares without advance purchase to the Bay Area, $49. Sacramento, $49. Portland, $99. Seattle, $99. AirCal's Jetaway fares are good on flights scheduled Saturday noon through Sunday noon only. But remember, while no advance purchase is required, seats are limited. So call now, 1-800-4-AirCal. We make flying easy.
Introducing Wendy's new Big Classic hamburger.
This is the good stuff.
Can't get it in a Whopper.
This is the good stuff.
Can't get it in a McDLT.
This is the good stuff.
Wendy's new Big Classic.
Fresh beef, fresh taste, big size. This is the one made right before you rise. This is the good stuff.
Wendy's new Big Classic.
Can't get enough. This is the good stuff.
Finding clothing in the right size was rather difficult for the Polifsky String Quartet, which made it difficult to play perfect music. Fortunately, they discovered C&R Clothiers. C&R carries a large selection in all sizes, 35 extra short to 52 long. Now they look great and play great. Well, they look great. C&R, for the long and short of it, and everything in between.
Now playing on a TV set near you.
The all-new Strike It Rich!
We've got it all, we've got it all. Beaches and paddle boats to dancing waterfalls. We've got it all, we've got it all. Daytime or nighttime, fun and pleasure call. Dine and dance, find romance. We entertain you all the while. Disneyland Hotel, we've got it all.
60 acres of resort pleasures and the only hotel on the monorail to Disneyland.
We've got it all.
Californians have made this book their hands-down favorite, The Pacific Bell Yellow Pages, second to none. Because whether it's a telescope you want, or a grill for a vintage car, or tuba lessons, or a driveway, or extra-wide shoes, there is no surer place in all the state to find them. Certainly there are other directories. It's just hard to imagine why. The Pacific Bell Yellow Pages. Simply the best.
And now the conclusion of Secrets of Three Hungry Wives.
Trouble is you've had too much time on your hands, which has been partly my fault. So, well, I've decided. Definitely no more out-of-town trips. I'm going to stay home with you. Give some form to your life. Give you some things to do. Oh, we could redo the house. You could be more entertaining at home. Hey, we could even build a playroom on the house. That way you could cut out on that tennis hassle of yours. You could get one of those videotape machines. Put it in the bedroom. See your favorite program day or night while lying in bed. How about that? What's that?
Nothing. Nothing that matters.
learned that it can be murder. Literally murder. Living with someone you don't love. A new game room isn't going to help anything. And a new toy in our bedroom isn't going to fix it either. I don't want anything from you at all, Bill. Except I want a divorce.
Well, I was sitting there and I was watching the 5 o'clock news, and then when I heard it was Mark,
Mark? Did you know him personally?
Of course I did.
When did you first... excuse me. You knew him personally. Now, would you say you knew him well?
I'd say.
Would you say that you knew him very well?
What do you... What?
Larry? There's a very good chance the police might want to talk to me about Mark.
You sure you don't mean Missy?
I did see him a few times, you know, and... Well, we went with him to that club, remember, the Garrick?
Yeah. I very nearly cost the company double indemnity. Lucky that deal broke down.
No, but, well, so, when the police start looking for motives, they're liable to find something among Mark's papers that might make
Honey,
me...
would you like a cigarette?
What? Oh, a cigarette, right.
You drunk, woman? You sure you're not drunk?
Yes, I am higher than a balloon. I love you, Larry.
What I mean is, well, we understand. And we're just trying to get to the truth, that's all. We're not blaming anyone. Did your mother really know that you knew him, well, like that, so to speak?
Well, I mean, it wasn't just me that liked him. Everybody liked him. He was like your father. Even Mama, especially Mama. Vicky? But she'll tell you she didn't like him, so don't believe her.
Mrs. Wood?
Yes?
I'm Inspector Donahue. This is Detective Bennett.
They want to talk to you about Mark, so tell them.
Well, all right, but I'm not sure what happened to me.
Tell them how much you liked him. They want to know everything. Go on, tell them. We'll ask her the questions you asked me.
Perhaps we could talk in private, Mrs. Wood.
Yes.
No. I've got a right to hear what she says.
Vicky, what's the matter with you?
I want to hear you admit you went to bed with him.
Vicky?
She was with him today, you know. So don't believe her if she tells you she's been making time with a client. She wasn't. She was in the city in his apartment. Weren't you, Mama? Admit it. You see, she was jealous. She was jealous of me. That's why she went to bed with him. To get him away from me. So she went there to his apartment, and she made out with him, and then she shot him with his own gun. Tell the policeman the truth. What's wrong with you, my God?
Mrs. Wood, have you ever made such a confession to your daughter?
No!
Vicky, why don't you tell me again, just how you think it happened?
Well, it's also up front. I mean, it's right there for everybody to see. She went to his apartment, and then she tricked him into bed. And then she went and got the gun from the desk drawer, and she shot him. She killed him because he loved me, just like she killed my father away because he loved me, too. Everybody I love, she kills away from me. She takes them all away from me.
I understand. Look, why don't you go outside with Detective Bennett? Just relax, get some air. We'll all be out in a minute. You do that for me, that good girl? Huh? Okay. Obviously, she's not responsible. But I'm sure they'll take that into consideration.
Well, what do you mean?
I'm afraid I'm going to have to take her in for the murder of Mark Powers.
No, you can't. What she said was true. I was there this afternoon. I was in bed with him. I made a bargain with him. I can't tell you about it.
Please. I'm really not interested. We know you were there. In your panic, you attracted a great deal of notice from the doorman. He described you right down to your shoes. And the cab driver who let you off at the station.
Oh, what more do you want?
There's something you can't give us. Something that only Vicky knew. Powers was killed with his own gun. We never released that information. But Vicky knew. We knew there were two women there. Obviously, Vicky was one of them. And what she was describing just now was her jealousy, not yours. And the man, Mrs. Wood, Powers, he was a real sickie. He's what our report called a pathological misogynist. Mrs. Wood? Mrs. Wood?
I want to go with her.
Well, of course. Look, why don't you call your lawyer and have him meet us? I'll wait for you outside.
Fell asleep? Well, now we know what happens to hungry wives.
What's that?
They raise hungry children.
We hope you'll enjoy our Channel 9 evening movie presentation of The Secrets of Three Hungry Wives. Please join us next week for suspense and thrills. It's Are You in the House Alone? A KHJ-TV editorial with the Vice President of Public Affairs and Editorials, Fernando Del Rio.
AIDS, the acquired immune deficiency syndrome, has now claimed 23,000 victims in the United States. AIDS is ultimately fatal and is usually spread by sexual intercourse, blood transfusion, shared needles, and birth by an infected mother. Proposition 64 on the November ballot requires that the carriers of the AIDS virus can be subjected to quarantine and isolation by public health officials. This proposition is disturbing because AIDS will be treated similarly to measles and can prohibit suspected AIDS carriers from working on jobs interacting with the public. At present, there is no medical evidence that proving that the AIDS virus is transmitted by other means than by the exchange of blood and semen. We doubt very much that by voting Proposition 64 into law, the spread of AIDS will be controlled. It could drive AIDS testing underground. The California Medical Association opposes the AIDS initiative, and so does KHJTV. When you get to the polls this November, please vote no on Proposition 64. I'm Fernando Del Rio, and that's our opinion.
That was a KHJTV editorial. We welcome requests to reply to our editorials from qualified community representatives with opposing viewpoints.
If you want a home loan, why don't you say so?
Home savings? We want to buy a house.
Call Home Savings.
As president of Schaefer & Sons, I've authorized Colton Piano and Organ to sell 400 new Schaefer & Son pianos and organs this weekend. No down payment and a low 3.9% interest. That's no down payment and 3.9% interest on any new Schaefer & Son spinet, console, upright, grand, home or church organ. I'll also include a free bench and free delivery, and remember, it's a low 3.9% interest only at Colton Piano and Organ Supermarts, the world's largest.
This is Dr. Richard Hopping, urging you to take advantage of the vision care services offered at the Optometric Center of Fullerton. Take care of your eyes. Please call.
Hi, I'm Elaine Joyce, host of the all-new dating game. Great-looking gals, fun-loving guys, and fabulous dream dates. It all adds up to fun on the all-new dating game. Watch us.
How do I fit into this picture of eternal love and devotion?
You don't. I'm sorry to be blunt, but I don't mislead you.
Nothing to be sorry about. The fact is, I'm relieved.
I thought you would be.
To tell the truth, I was afraid you were falling for me.
Not a chance.
That's what they all say, and then pow, head over heels.
Well, I'll try to protect myself at all times.
You do that, I'd hate to see you wind up like all the others.
I'm willing to take my chances.
Saturday Night Showcase takes great pleasure in bringing you the finest films in our library. Tonight, Elizabeth Taylor stars as the Las Vegas showgirl who plays the waiting game in a love triangle. It's the only game in town.
Sit up.
Hey, Willie, cheer up. I still love you.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Have I ever lied to you?
Yeah, but don't stop.
Hey, how about my blue pen?
How about it?
What's the matter, don't you know? I can't hear you.
Who told you about me?
What?
Aren't you here because you heard about me?
No.
Well, what?
Well, I wanted pizza.
I may never play again.
Hey, only one chorus.
What do you want for a buck? Name a song. First one's in the house.
But not for me.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Missed it, huh?
Yeah.
Well, as Mother used to say, if it's important, I'll call back.
I feel better already.
I'm sorry this place is in such a mess. I wasn't expecting company.
Neither was I.
Hey. I haven't any bourbon.
Oh, anything. Fine.
Make yourself comfortable.
I always do.
I'm a lousy bartender.
A minor flaw.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Cheers. Have you been playing at Tony's Loom?
7 months. How long you been in Vegas?
Too long.
How long is that?
5 years. Can you imagine if they outlawed gambling, what a ghost town this place would be?
You missed your cue. You're supposed to ask how long I've been here.
I don't care how long you've been here.
Good for you. Not being particularly honest myself, I admire it in other people. 3 years going on 4, that's how long I've been here.
Right? Like Vegas?
Loathe, despise, and detest it.
Why do you stay here?
Well, I used to do a little gambling, but I haven't touched the stuff in months. Satisfied all my creditors, started a bank account, which, when it reaches $5,000, will be my passport out of this cesspool.
I hope you make it.
Thank you. Why do you stay?
Inertia?
It's one of my favorite words. What do you do with yourself for fun?
Oh, I read a bit. It's television mostly. Or movies. I'm an addict. Do you like Bogart?
If you want anything, just whistle.
That's Lauren Bacall's line.
What do you think I was doing?
The thing I just love about Bogey is he's so ugly. I've never liked pretty men.
Guess that rules me out, huh? It's the first time I heard you laugh.
Well, I won't let it